Have you ever wondered what courage looks like in the most unexpected places? The 12-year-old son of a black cleaning lady shouted, "Don't get in the car." What the CEO did next shocked the entire company, "Don't get in the car." Kevin's scream cut through the cold morning air like a knife, causing all the executives in the Torres and Associates parking lot to stop instantly. The 12-year-old boy ran desperately toward the black Mercedes, where CEO Richard Torres was about to get in. Torres' hand froze on the golden door handle. Around him, his security guards were already moving to intercept the child who had burst out of the building like a hurricane. Kevin was the son of Donna Carmen, the night cleaning lady who had been cleaning the company's offices for 15 years without ever being seen or recognized by the executives. "Hold that kid," shouted the head of security. But Kevin was too fast. His worn sneakers slid across the wet asphalt as he gestured frantically to Torres. "Please, sir, don't go in. Something's wrong." Richard Torres, a 52-year-old real estate mogul, looked at the sweaty, panting black child with a mixture of irritation and curiosity. It was the first time in 15 years that he had noticed Kevin, who often accompanied his mother to work during school vacations. "What the hell?" Torres muttered, his busy schedule of important meetings interrupted by a child who, in his eyes, shouldn't even be there. Where did this kid come from? Kevin knew he only had seconds before he was dragged away. His eyes, shining with held-back tears, met Torres. "Sir, I saw it in her office last night. They were messing with his car." For a moment, the world stopped. Torres felt something cold run up his spine. Her calculating mind began to process the child's words. Kevin, who spent hours invisible in the hallways waiting for his mother to finish work, had seen something no one else had noticed. The boy was breathing heavily, his small hands trembling, not with fear, but with determination. He had kept this secret for hours, fighting the fear of not being believed, of being punished, of causing trouble for his mother. But someone's life was at risk, and Kevin knew he couldn't live with himself if he didn't try to warn them. Could a child's bravery change the fate of a powerful man? Torres looked at the car, then at the little girl, then at the tense faces of the executives around him. Something in Kevin's desperate gaze made him hesitate. That child knew every corner of that building, every sound, every nighttime movement that important adults never noticed. There, in front of all the looks of contempt and impatience, Kevin stood firm like someone guarding a secret too powerful to be ignored. If this story of courage and determination touched his heart, don't forget to subscribe to the Black Voices channel to find out how a simple moment of bravery would become the catalyst for a revelation that no one would ever forget. Richard Torres studied Kevin's sweaty face for a long moment, his mind processing the absurd situation. A black boy, the son of a cleaning lady, was preventing him from getting into his own car in front of important executives. It was embarrassing, but something in the desperation of the child's eyes made him hesitate. "What kind of joke is this?" muttered James Mitchell, vice president of sales, adjusting his expensive tie. "Richard, you're not going to listen to this kid, are you?" Torres raised his hand, silencing Mitchell. "What exactly did you see, Kevin?" The boy swallowed hard, knowing that every word could be his last chance. "Last night, while my mom was cleaning the 50th floor, I was in the lobby doing my homework. I saw two men in suits going down to the garage. They were messing around under his car for almost 20 minutes. Two men in suits, Torres raised an eyebrow. "Kevin, half the people in this company wear suits." "But they weren't normal employees, sir," Kevin insisted, his small hands gesturing excitedly. "One of them had a crescent-shaped scar on his forehead. The other was very tall and bald, but he had a snake tattoo running up his neck." An icy silence fell over the parking lot. Torres felt the blood freeze in his veins. He knew exactly who Kevin was describing. Marcus Scarface Valdez and Anthony Snake Kane, two men who didn't work for Torres and Associates, but for people that he preferred to keep out of his respectable life. "That's ridiculous," Mitchell laughed nervously. "Richard, are you really considering canceling important meetings because of a child's imagination?" Kevin turned to Mitchell, his eyes flashing with a determination that surprised everyone. "Sir, I know you think I'm just another poor kid who shouldn't be here, but I know every sound in this building at night. I know when something's out of place. Torres watched the interaction, noticing for the first time how his executives looked at Kevin, not just with impatience, but with genuine contempt. It was as if the child had been invisible until he became an inconvenience. Carmen Rodriguez came running through the side entrance of the building, still wearing her faded blue cleaning uniform. Her hands trembled as she approached the group of powerful men surrounding her son. "Kevin, for God's sake, what are you doing?" She grabbed the boy's arm, her eyes darting between her son and Torres. "Mr. Torres, I'm sorry. He's just a child sometimes." "Mom, no," Kevin gently pulled away from his mother's arm. "I can't let him get in that car." Carmen lowered her head, her cheeks burning with shame. 15 years working for that company, arriving at 11 at night and leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning, being the invisible woman who kept everything clean and organized so that the important people could work in impeccable surroundings. "Carmen," Torres said softly, surprising everyone with his respectful tone. "Her son is trying to warn me about something that could be dangerous." "You raised him well." Mitchell let out an exasperated sigh. "Richard, this is a waste of time. We have a meeting with the Japanese investors in 40 minutes. Torres ignored Mitchell completely. "Kevin, those men you saw. Did they say anything? Did you hear any of their conversation?" Kevin closed his eyes, concentrating. The one with the scar said something about problem solved by Thursday. The other one laughed and said he's finally learned not to mess with the right people. Thursday. Today was Thursday. Torres felt a chill run down his spine as he remembered the threatening phone call he had received the previous week. He had refused to sell a specific piece of land to a group of investors whose reputation was questionable. "Mr. Torres," Carmen murmured, still looking at the floor. "Kevin spends a lot of time here during the holidays. He sees things that adults don't notice because he's always quiet, always watching." Torres glanced at his Mercedes, then at Kevin, then at the impatient faces of the executives around him. For the first time in years, the real estate mogul felt something he hadn't felt since his youth. Genuine gratitude towards someone who had absolutely nothing to gain by protecting him. Will this unlikely hero's warning save the day? There, in that freezing parking lot, while men in expensive suits grumbled about missed deadlines, a 12-year-old boy held in his small hands a secret that had just saved the life of one of the most powerful men in the city. Torres made a decision that would change not only her morning, but her entire perspective on power and invisibility. "Graves, call security. I want them to inspect my car immediately." Mitchell rolled his eyes dramatically. "Richard, this is ridiculous." "We're going to be late for." "Shut up," Torres interrupted sharply, his eyes still fixed on Kevin. "Kevin, I want you to tell me every detail of what you saw. Every movement, every word." The boy took a deep breath, feeling for the first time in his life that a powerful adult was really listening to him. The man with the scar had a black briefcase. They used a special key to open something under the car. They were whispering about a timed device, and Thursday morning. Carmen held her son's hand, her eyes filling with tears as she watched the most feared CEO in the city treat Kevin with genuine respect. 15 years invisible, and now her boy was being taken seriously by someone who had never even noticed her existence. The security team arrived with specialized equipment. 10 minutes later, the boss returned, his face pale. "Mr. Torres, we found a sophisticated explosive device connected to the ignition system. It's set to detonate at 9:15, exactly when you usually leave for your Thursday meetings." A deadly silence fell over the parking lot. Mitchell swallowed hard, his face draining of color. The other executives looked at each other, realizing they had almost witnessed the murder of their boss. Torres knelt in front of Kevin, placing her hands on the boy's shoulders. "You saved my life, Kevin. How can I ever thank you?" "By finding whoever wants to hurt you, sir," Kevin replied without hesitation. "Because if they tried once, they'll try again." Carmen watched her son with a mixture of pride and terror. At 12 years old, Kevin had shown more courage than many adults around her. But he had also put his family in danger by getting involved with dangerous people. Torres stood up, his business mind already processing the implications. "Carmen, I want you both in my office now." Kevin, I need you to help me understand who these people are. Mr. Torres, Carmen murmured, still intimidated. We don't want any trouble. Kevin was just trying to help. Carmen, Torres interrupted gently. Her family just saved my life. You're not the problem. You're the solution. In the elevator to the fifth last night, when I was helping Mom clean the conference room, I saw papers on his desk about a project called Riverside Renewal. Torres frowned. Riverside was a controversial project, a luxury complex that would displace hundreds of low-income families. He had hesitated to sign the contract due to community pressure. The men who tampered with his car, Kevin continued. They mentioned Riverside. They said he'd finally sign after Thursday. Carmen squeezed her son's hand. She knew Riverside. It was exactly where her sister raised her 3 children in a modest home that would be demolished by the project. Torres stopped breathing for a moment. Someone had planned to kill him in a way that would look like an accident, assuming that his death would force the company to approve the project under new leadership. It was a diabolically elegant business plan. Kevin, Torres said slowly. You said they had special keys. That means someone inside the company helped them. The boy nodded gravely. Sir, I also saw one of the directors come down to the garage half an hour after they left. He didn't see them, but they greeted each other like friends. Which director? Torres asked, though he already suspected the answer. Mr. Mitchell, the same one who didn't want you to hear me today. Carmen felt a chill run down her spine. Her son had just exposed a conspiracy involving people powerful enough to kill. They were no longer just saving a life. They were entering a war. Torres watched the mother and son, realizing she had found the most unlikely and valuable allies of her career. Kevin had eyes that saw what important executives missed, and Carmen knew every corner of the building better than any security system. Carmen, Kevin, Torres said as the elevator doors opened to his private office. I hope you're ready for an adventure because we're going to find out exactly who's behind this. And when we're done, they're going to regret underestimating a cleaning lady and her son. For the first time in 15 years, Carmen smiled genuinely inside that building. Kevin had not only saved a life, he had given a voice to those who had always been invisible. There, before the windows that dominated the city, an unlikely alliance was forming between power and invisibility, a combination that his enemies could never predict or fight against. What Torres didn't know was that Kevin had already developed a plan of his own during the hours he spent alone in the hallways. A plan that would use every camera, every hiding place, every secret he had observed during years of forced invisibility to expose the truth in a way that no one would ever forget. In Torres's office, an unlikely alliance was about to become James Mitchell's worst nightmare. Torres studied Kevin with growing admiration. You said you know every corner of this building better than any security system. I need you to prove it to me. Kevin nodded determinedly. Mr. Torres, there's a server room on the 30th floor that's never monitored. That's where all the company's emails and phone calls are automatically archived. If Mr. Mitchell is conspiring, the evidence is there. Carmen held her son's hand. Kevin, this is dangerous. If they find out, Mom, Kevin interrupted softly. You taught her that doing the right thing sometimes means taking risks for others. Mr. Torres saved our lives today by listening to me. Now it's our turn to save him. For the next 2 hours, Kevin guided Torres through service corridors and stairwells that even the CEO herself didn't know about. The boy moved like a ghost, knowing exactly where every camera was positioned and when the security guards made their rounds. I learned by watching, Kevin explained as he temporarily disabled a motion sensor. When you're invisible for so long, you end up seeing everything his important people don't notice. In the server room, Kevin demonstrated a surprising skill with technology. My cousin taught me basic programming. He said, knowledge is power, especially for people like us. In 40 minutes, they had collected devastating evidence: emails between Mitchell and a corrupt real estate consortium, recordings of phone calls planning Torres' murder, secret financial transfers, and most shocking of all, a detailed document on how to take over the company after the CEO's accidental death. Torres read the messages with a mixture of anger and admiration for the criminal audacity. Mitchell had planned every detail from the fake corporate mourning to the immediate approval of the Riverside project that would displace hundreds of families. "Mr. Torres," Kevin said softly, "there's one more thing. Tomorrow is Friday, and at 2 p.m., there's a quarterly meeting with all the major investors. Mitchell always uses this meeting to announce important decisions." Torres smiled for the first time in hours. "Kevin, are you suggesting we expose everything in front of 50 millionaire investors and the trade press?" "Yes, sir. Because when someone tries to kill you and fails, the best revenge is to destroy her reputation in front of everyone he wants to impress." Carmen watched her 12-year-old son talk business strategy with the most feared CEO in town and realized she was witnessing the birth of a natural leader. On Friday at 2 p.m., the main meeting room was packed. Mitchell, impeccably dressed and confident, presented the new direction of the company after what he called a thwarted external sabotage attempt. Fortunately, Mitchell smiled at the investors. "Our CEO is safe and we can now move forward with important projects like Riverside, which will bring significant economic development to areas in need of urban renewal." Torres watched from the back of the room, standing next to Kevin and Carmen. The little girl held a tablet connected to the company's presentation system, access she had obtained the night before using codes Kevin had secretly observed for months. "I would like to announce my promotion to Chief Executive Officer," Mitchell continued, a decision that will never be made," Torres interrupted, stepping to the front of the room. The silence was instantaneous. Mitchell paled but maintained his composure. "Richard, I'm glad you're here. We were discussing the new security protocols following yesterday's incident." Torres smiled coldly. "James, let's call it what it is. Attempted premeditated murder." A shocked murmur rippled through the room. Mitchell forced a nervous laugh. "Richard, you're clearly shaken by yesterday's scare. Perhaps it would be best." Kevin pressed a key on his tablet. Immediately, the screens in the room filled with Mitchell's incriminating emails. Her own voice began to echo through the speakers. "The Torres problem will be resolved Thursday morning. Prepare the succession documents." Mitchell's face went from white to red, then purple. This is a setup. Someone hacked his email." Torres nodded to Kevin, who activated the second part of the evidence. Financial documents appeared on the screens showing payments of $300,000 to Marcus Scarface Valdez and Anthony Cobra Kane, the same men Kevin had seen tampering with the car. "James," Torres said calmly, "did you really think you could kill me and take over my company in front of the same investors who are now seeing the evidence of his crime?" Mitchell looked desperately at the shocked faces around the table. Investors who had respected him minutes before now stared at him with horror and disgust. "Who found this out?" Mitchell asked, her voice breaking. "Who had access to confidential information?" Torres placed his hand on Kevin's shoulder. "It was this brilliant 12-year-old, the son of our employee, Carmen Rodriguez. They saved my life because he paid attention to what we all ignored." Mitchell looked at Kevin, the black boy he had despised just 2 days earlier, and realized that his career, reputation, and freedom had been destroyed by someone he considered completely irrelevant. "You," Mitchell whispered incredulously. "A kid from the cleaning lady destroyed him." "No," Kevin replied with impressive maturity. "You destroyed yourself when you thought you could kill people and no one was paying attention. I just showed everyone who he really is." At that moment, federal agents entered the room. Torres had alerted the authorities the night before, providing all the evidence he had collected. Mitchell was arrested right there in front of all the investors and journalists present. As the handcuffs closed around his wrists, Mitchell shouted desperately, "You don't understand. I built this company as much as he did. I deserve to be in charge." Torres watched the man who had tried to kill him being led away by the agents, then turned to the room full of impressed faces. "Gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Kevin Rodriguez, our new special internal security consultant, and Carmen Rodriguez, who will be promoted to night operations supervisor with an immediate pay raise." The applause was spontaneous and genuine. Kevin, still holding the tablet that had defeated an empire of corruption, smiled shyly as her mother cried with pride and relief. There, in front of 50 millionaire investors and TV cameras, a new order had been established at Torres and Associates. The Riverside project was permanently cancelled, low-income families kept their homes, and a company that had almost lost her soul rediscovered that true strength comes from seeing the value in everyone, regardless of age, color, or social status. But as Torres announced the changes that would forever transform the company's culture, neither he nor Kevin her could have imagined that this moment of justice was just the beginning of a partnership that would revolutionize not only a company but an entire vision of power, privilege, and what it truly means to lead with purpose. 6 months after Mitchell's arrest, the transformation at Torres & Associates was so profound that it seemed like a completely different company. Kevin, now 13, had become a corporate legend, the kid who saved a CEO and revolutionized an entire corporate culture. Torres watched from his office as Kevin led a presentation for a group of visiting executives from other companies. The teenager, wearing a simple but impeccable suit that Torres had insisted on buying, explained with ease how to implement security programs that leveraged invisible employees as a source of corporate intelligence. Most companies completely ignore the people who know his buildings best, Kevin told the impressed executives. Janitors, night security guards, maintenance staff. They see everything, hear everything, but no one asks what they observed. Carmen was present in the room, no longer as a janitor, but as Director of Internal Operations, a position created specifically for her. Her eyes sparkled with pride as she watched her experience of social invisibility transform into a revolutionary business management methodology. Kevin developed what we call the Total Visibility Protocol, Torres explained to the visitors. In 6 months, we identified and predicted 4 industrial sabotage attempts, 2 internal fraud schemes, and saved more than $5 million in operational losses. One of the visiting executives raised his hand. How did you discover that a 12-year-old boy had this analytical ability? Torres smiled, remembering that moment in the parking lot that had changed everything. Because I almost died for not listening to someone I considered irrelevant. Kevin taught me that intelligence and value have no age, color, or social status. Meanwhile, in a federal penitentiary 200 miles away, James Mitchell was serving a 25-year sentence for attempted murder, conspiracy, corporate fraud, and money laundering. Her bank account had been confiscated, her mansion auctioned off, and her family had abandoned him after the public exposure of his crimes. Mitchell spent his days in the prison library obsessively reading news articles about the growing success of Torres & Associates. Every article about Kevin Rodriguez, the corporate prodigy who now gave lectures at business universities, was like a stab in his shattered ego. "How did a kid destroy me?" he would repeat constantly to any prisoner who would listen. "A janitor's little girl reduced me to nothing." His cellmates just shook their heads. Even in prison, Mitchell still couldn't understand that he hadn't been destroyed by a kid. He had destroyed himself by underestimating the humanity of people he considered inferior. Back at the company, Kevin concluded her presentation with a phrase that had become her personal motto. Invisibility can be a curse or a superpower. It depends on who's paying attention. The applause was warm and genuine. Torres stood up and put his hand on the teenager's shoulder. Kevin has revolutionized not only our security but our understanding of leadership. He showed us that true leaders aren't those who command but those who observe, listen, and value every person around him. You know what's most ironic? Torres said, watching children from the community playing in the newly opened park. Mitchell thought that by killing me, he would take over the company and approve Riverside to make millions. Instead, we've invested those millions in creating jobs and opportunities right here. Kevin smiled, watching his 8-year-old cousin learn the violin in one of the center's free music rooms. Mr. Torres, can I tell you something? That morning in the parking lot, I was scared to death. I thought no one would hear me. Carmen hugged her son. And look where we are because you had the courage to speak up. Torres watched the mother and son, reflecting on the extraordinary journey they had shared. Kevin was no longer the invisible boy who wandered the corporate hallways. At 13, he was a consultant to multinational companies, had created a foundation for young people from underserved communities interested in business, and was about to graduate from high school with a full scholarship to any university he chose. Kevin, Torres said thoughtfully, have you decided what you want to study in college? The teenager looked around the community center, seeing dozens of families who had remained in their homes thanks to her courage that morning 6 months ago. Business and social justice. I want to create a program that identifies and develops hidden talent in communities that society ignores. Torres nodded, not surprised. And Torres and Associates will be her first partner in that program. That night, Carmen tucked Kevin into bed in his new apartment, a gift from Torres that she had initially refused until he explained that it was an investment in Kevin's education, not charity. "Mom," Kevin said softly. "Do you regret all those nights working invisible in that building?" Carmen thought for a moment, remembering the years of silent cleaning, of being ignored, of feeling like a ghost in the corporate world. "No, my love, every invisible night prepared us for the day we became impossible to ignore." 6 months after a 12-year-old boy yelled at a CEO not to get in his car, 3 lives have been changed forever. Torres had learned that true leadership means valuing every voice. Carmen had discovered that years of invisibility had prepared her for powerful and meaningful visibility. And Kevin had proven that age, color, or social status never determine a person's worth. Mitchell had tried to build his empire on the destruction of others, but he ended up destroying only himself. Torres, Kevin, and Carmen built something greater. A company, a community, and a chosen family based on mutual respect and recognition of human value. The real revenge wasn't Mitchell's imprisonment or the loss of his fortune. It was the creation of a world where kids like Kevin are heard from day one, where mothers like Carmen are valued for her intelligence and dedication, and where entrepreneurs like Torres learn that the greatest profit comes from investing in human dignity. Today, when young people from disadvantaged communities visit Torres and Associates through Kevin's program, they see something that Mitchell never could. That true power doesn't come from tearing others down, but from lifting up those whom society insists on making invisible. If this story touched his heart and inspired him to believe that a single courageous voice can change everything, subscribe to the Black Voices channel. Because sometimes the most unlikely heroes are right in front of our eyes, just waiting for someone to stop and really listen to what they have to say.